Back now with politics and a new Vanity Fair article that's reigniting questions about Mitt Romney's financial history. The article delves into his unwillingness to release more of his tax returns and the offshore accounts that were revealed in documents he was reluctant to release during the primary season. Vanity Fair writing, quote, Romney, like the superhero who whirls and backflips unscathed through a web of laser beams while everyone else gets zapped, is certainly a remarkable financial acrobat. But careful analysis of his financial and business affairs also reveals a man who, like some other Wall Street titans, seems comfortable striding into some fuzzy gray zones. Let's go ahead and bring in our News Nation political panel. Democratic strategist Chris Kafinas and political reporter for The Washington Post, Nia Malika Henderson. Good afternoon to both of you.
Good to be here.
Chris, let me start with you because the article talks about accounts in Bermuda, it talks about accounts in Switzerland. I want to play you Romney's reaction during a January primary debate when he was called out by Newt Gingrich. Take a listen.
I did say I thought it was unusual, and I don't know of any American president who's had a Swiss bank account. I'd be glad for you to explain that sort of thing.
Okay, I will. I'll say it again. I have a trustee that manages my investments in a blind trust. That was so that I would avoid any conflicts of interest. That trustee indicated last week when he was asked about this, he said that he wanted to diversify the investments that I had. And for a while, he had money in a Swiss account reported in the U.S., full taxes paid on it, U.S. taxes. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that, Chris. When the average American or independent voters, especially in Ohio and Pennsylvania, which we'll talk about in just a second, when they hear that explanation and when they read articles like this, what do they think?
They think that this is a candidate that is out of touch and doesn't understand them. I mean, listen, when you step back and look at this, campaigns, especially presidential elections, are battles between narratives. Each campaign is trying to define themselves, trying to define their opponent. And when you look at, Governor Romney and all the issues that have come up about the fact that he pays a lower tax rate than most Americans, that he has these offshore accounts, that he has outsourced jobs, it creates a really damaging narrative. And the Romney campaign, through their silence and I would say missteps, have not filled that void. And I think that's why you've noticed, and especially in some of these battlegrounds, the Obama campaign has has really gained some ground compared to Governor Romney.
It is a fascinating article, and I would encourage folks who are watching and listening to actually read the article as well. Nia Malika, no one has accused Romney of anything illegal. We should, of course, point that out. But when you start talking about offshore accounts and you start talking about trustees, and apparently in one of these accounts, according to the article at least, it appears as if Mitt Romney has been betting against the U.S. dollar for some time. How does the campaign get out in front of a narrative like this?
Well, so far, they have been pretty steadfast in their position that they don't really think this is an issue. You saw him, obviously, in South Carolina refuse initially to release some of those tax forms. He then did release some of them. But they have this sense that Americans don't really care about this, that Americans know that Mitt Romney is wealthy. Most of the last people who have run for president have also been very wealthy. So they want to just focus on the economy. I think the problem is that you're going to see from Democrats twin this narrative about offshore bank accounts with the narrative out of Maine and this whole idea that Mitt Romney thinks that he doesn't have to play by the rules. Now, Mitt Romney, of course, has said, as you just said, that he hasn't broken any rules, that he pays not a penny more in taxes than he should, and that's been his assistance all along. We'll have to see whether or not this becomes an issue again down the line as we get closer to November.
Let's talk about the trail here, Chris. Both candidates have plans to hit the road. Romney heading to Israel later this Sunday. President Obama kicking off his first bus tour of the campaign. He is going to take his economic message through Ohio, through Pennsylvania, to, of course, battleground states there. He won both of those in 2008. He will likely need both, if not one of them, in the win column to win re-election in November. Here's the latest Quinnipiac poll. It has the president 9 points ahead of Romney in Ohio, 6 points ahead of Romney in Pennsylvania. Chris, we should note here that no Republican has ever won the White House without winning Ohio. What's it going to take for Mitt Romney to make any inroads in that state?
Well, I think he's got to come up with a middle-class economic message. If you look at this economy and what people have been hurting, and if you look at the fact of, what the mess that the president inherited and he's been trying to fix, I mean, there is real anxiety amongst the middle class. And I think Governor, Romney's major problem is that people don't think he has a solution. In fact, when they look at his policies and you scratch at them and you really kind of analyze them, what you come to the conclusion is all the problems that he says he's going to fix, he's actually going to make worse. He's going to actually make the deficit worse. His job creation proposals aren't going to create jobs. And I think unless he addresses that and gives some confidence to the middle class, especially those, hardworking folks in Ohio, I'm not sure he makes those kind of inroads. And that's going to be a big problem because he cannot win unless he wins Ohio. It's one of the key states for him.
Nia Malika, voters in Ohio, Pennsylvania, already getting a preview of the president's message. There's a TV ad that launched in 9 swing states. I want to play a quick snippet of it and talk about it on the other side. Take a look.
What a president believes matters. Mitt Romney's companies were pioneers in outsourcing U.S. jobs to low-wage countries. He supports tax breaks for companies that ship jobs overseas. Outsourcing versus insourcing. It matters.
I'll say what you may about the Obama campaign. It appears as if they're staying on message. I mean, they're beating independent voters over the head with this theme.
That's right, and you remember that they got some blowback for playing the Bain card, but they have steadfastly focused on Bain, and we can see that it's working in these swing states. You guys had a poll out, I believe it was last week, that showed the president ahead by, I think, 10 points in these key swing states. And so far, and there's some concern about this among Republicans, Romney hasn't really mounted a good defense as of yet in terms of what he did at Bain. He has said that it wasn't outsourcing, it was offshoring. And that's, good luck with that argument to folks who have experienced this kind of job loss, especially in these Rust Belt states. Also, I think you're going to hear the president talk about that auto bailout. So many of the communities there are connected to the auto industry in those states. I'm sure he's going to lead with that.
Nia Malika, Henderson, Chris Kafinas, always a pleasure. Thanks to both of you. Happy 4th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You too.
Happy 4th.